draft, but as far as what they wanted to get out of this group, I gave them a B+ to an A-.
Nice. So that's like we were talking before the show here. Chris, if I might call you Chris, the way you broke down, the way you and what's your host's name there? It's escaping me there on Locked On. Go ahead. What's it?
Tony Serino.
Mr. Tony. The way you two guys talk about wide receivers and DBs, the wide receiver and DB battle. That's what made me reach out to you, man, and to hear you talk about, Deontay Johnson, stepping up for you and standing out in camp, as I should say, for you. That makes me put that guy on my radar. And one person I wanted to talk about right here is right off the jump, Carter. I got to get into Devin Bush. What linebackers are so important in the IDP fantasy game, which we focus on here on this show. What does that inside off-ball linebacker group look like so far? What do you think it's going to shape out to look like?
Well, so the Steelers are in a bit of an interesting period where they have the edge rusher they want in T.J. Watt, and they have a good linebacker in Vince Williams. So Vince Williams is a guy who stops the run very well, who rushes the passer very well, and who is okay in coverage, but you would rather have a guy who can fly about the field and make certain plays. And that's why they went and got Devin Bush as well as Mark Barron to fill
and that's why they released John Bostic, right, Mr. Carter?
Yeah.
Like that, Vince Williams does what Bostic did better and younger, so that's why Bostic got set to the side, correct?
Yeah, that's completely correct. And I can tell you, Bostic coming in was doing very well. They didn't sign him to stop the pass. They were hoping that would be Morgan Burnett that would take that role.
Yep.
And John Bostic was purely there because they knew they needed a presence at middle linebacker, inside linebacker that could stop the run and flow gap to gap. And he did that very well in the start of the season. But as the season went on, people started to realize, hey, if we just call play action and throw over this guy, we'll get a lot of points off of it. And that's when they had to put in more of LJ Fort. That's when they tried to use Morgan Burnett, and it wasn't working because that's not what he wanted to do.
Right.
And they realized, and I think it was mainly Keith Butler was trying to cover a huge hole in his defense that he just couldn't in the long run. But that's why they absolutely had to get one of their guys in this latest draft.
And correct me if is Keith Butler is no longer there, right?
No,
Chris?
Keith Butler's still the defensive coordinator.
Okay, he's still there. He's still there, and they're still running that 3-4, right?
Well, so here's the thing.
Let's hear it.
3-4 in theory, but they really only use the 3-4 around 30% of the time.
Oh,
most of the time they're in nickel packages, they're in dime packages.
Nice.
Because so many teams are deploying 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets.
Yes.
And you can't come out in the 3-4, and that's how they started getting killed in the late 2000s when they had to switch. So right now you're going to see a lot of packages where you're going to have 4 down rushers, 2 linebackers, and maybe 7 DBs or 5 DBs. I'm sorry, instead of 4 DBs. So you got 5 DBs. That was right the first time.
Right.
But you're gonna see like a lot more packages, and those linebackers won't be the John Bostic and Vince Williams of the world unless they're rushing the passer, like Vince Williams does so well. But you're gonna get Bush and Barron over the middle that can go sideline, help out a little bit more, and they'll be teaming up with the cornerbacks that are. This is the deepest the cornerback position has been since the Ike Taylor, Deshae Townsend.
It's a good group, ain't it, Carter? Y'all are pleased with that group, right? I mean,
I can only say as a writer,
right.
I think that the Steelers are pleased with what they've done in this offseason to get this far, and because now and for example, there's been some training camp bumps and bruises. Steven Nelson had to come up for a couple of days. Joe Hayden didn't rest for a couple.
Artie Burns is out now, ain't he?
Right, yeah, and they're nothing major, but it's just like you want the depth at that position. And right now, there's a question as far as who do they keep, because they got to keep Hayden. They got to keep Nelson. They got to keep Hilton. They got to keep Sutton.
Right.
But then after those guys, you still got Artie Burns, who they've already paid for the year because he got his rookie bonus. And so Burns is going to be sticking around. But then you still have Brian Allen, who they've been protecting from the practice squad for the past 2 years, and he has the build of a cornerback, but he just hasn't put it together yet. And then you still have Justin Lane, who you're not letting go because he was a third-round draft pick rookie. You never let those go. That's 7 cornerbacks that you're interested in right now, and you can't keep 7 on the squad. So it's an interesting position for the Steelers to be in right now. I think that but I think that it's a Mike Tomlin would say that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and that's. Well, I'll get into it whenever we get into the last segment before I send you off, called Under Pressure. I'll be asking you a little DB question at the end of camp, who you think makes it. So we'll get into that later there. But okay, so circling back real quick, because that's a hot topic in, like I said, IDP fantasy football, is the linebackers. You said that they run a lot of nickel and dime, and you see Barron and Bush out there, the majority of the time on that nickel and dime package. So let's say that, Devin Bush is already taken in a fantasy draft here, Mr. Carter, and Barron is available. Heck, he's available, Mr. Carter. He's available down there in the rounds 17, 18, 19, 20th round, where you're having to take Devin Bush up here in the 6th, 7th round of drafts, IDP drafts. Do you think Mark Barron is a good get? Would you take Mark Barron as maybe your linebacker 3 or 4 on a fantasy team there, Mr. Carter?
I think if you had solid starters, he'd be a good reserve guy to call up, because there's going to be days when Devin Bush or somebody's hurt and he has to play a little more. I also think that they really like having that veteran presence here. He's looked good in camp. He hits hard.
Yeah.
He's been challenging more passes over the middle. They like that about him. So he's going to get the snaps. Now, whether he gets the numbers and the production, that's a whole other story.
100%.
Right. But the thing is with Mark Barron is that I wouldn't draft him early in any drafts.
Right.
But if you're looking for a reserve linebacker that's going to get you points on
right,
that your main linebackers out, Barron would be a nice cheap get to have on your team.
And he's real late there, Carter. Like I said, 16, 17, 18, but I mean, I just got done doing a 65 round IDP draft, and Mark Barron was took, let's see right here, 39th round. That's a bargain, right there, Mr. Carter. You got to take him there, right? All day.
I've never done a 65 round draft.
Yeah, I know that's the degenerate side of this podcast. I didn't want to bring you into that, but I just had to relate a little bit to the listeners, But okay, hey, here's one question I got for you, and this will put it pretty much point blank for all the listeners. You got one pick to make, let's say around round 25. It's Vince Williams, Mark Barron, both of them staring at you square in the face there, Christopher Carter. Who are you telling my listeners to take there, brother?
I'm taking Mark Barron. I think he's going to see more snaps this season. I think that Vince Williams is going to see more special teams this year and more sub packages where they're like, hey, Vince, go get somebody. Now, Vince might end up getting you some good sack numbers. So that's the one thing I would say. Be wary of how things are going to shape out.
Your scoring system. If it's sack heavy, maybe leading a little bit towards Vince here. If it's more pass deflection, more tackle heavy, maybe lean more to Barron here. That's what Carter's telling you.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. Love it. That's exactly what I wanted to know. And that was, I've had probably 50 questions come in my DM since I sent that tweet out a couple hours ago, buddy. And that was what everybody wanted to know. Is Vince Williams a thing? Is Mark Barron brought over to be a thing? We all know Devin Bush is going to get them snaps. We all know that. So
the challenge that Vince Williams faces is that traditionally the Steelers have, when they've run the 3-4, there's the Mac linebacker and there's the Buck linebacker. And for those who don't know, the Mac linebacker is the active one, the faster one that's always running gap to gap, playing the pass, and it's usually the more agile of the two that's going to be asked to go from the second level to the third level and help against different pass schemes. The Buck linebacker is the guy that comes up, plugs the hole. He's the first one to hit the fullback and make sure that his gap is sound, rush the passer. He's a fun guy. And for years, the Steelers had a good play Buck linebacker. The Steelers fans might remember Larry Foote. Larry Foote was the Buck linebacker for a time. When Lawrence Timmons came up, Ferrier became the Buck next to him. When Ryan Shazier came up, Timmons became the Buck because Shazier was faster. But in today's day and age of football, when you have to kind of decide when the 3-4 is kind of becoming out of fashion because everyone's running nickel packages and dime packages and such, you got to look at it and you say, well, the Buck linebacker is somewhat becoming irrelevant. So that's the problem that Pittsburgh is facing right now. But I think that he's still a very good player. He's definitely on the team, and the team likes him. I can tell you, in that locker room, he is respected. In that coaching staff, he is respected. And if he's around, I do suggest that you stash him as one of your later Packers. But yeah, man, Vince Williams still a guy. It's just the unfortunate situation for him. He's done everything that he can do to show that he belongs in the NFL. But with the passing and league developing that it is, it's tough to justify him starting over both Bush.
Nice. And like I said, buddy, that was a lot of the questions I had. So, hey, I need to grab my laptop charger real fast. So give me 5 seconds, buddy. Give me 5 seconds. All right. We're back. Got some power going to that laptop. Didn't want that to go dead in the middle of this goodness. You know what I mean there, Mr. Carter? All right, buddy. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next segment, and that would be under pressure. With all my guests, I put them under pressure here, Mr. Carter, and I give them 10 questions, 5 life related, 5 fantasy football related. So, are you ready to take a dive under pressure there, Mr. Carter?
Of course. I'm always ready, man.
All right, brother. All right. So, here we go. Question number 1, Mr. Carter. Do you drive a truck, car, or SUV?
Car. I'm always about the car. I like having a smaller room. City. Nice little Honda Civic. It's good gas by the mile. So
That gas mileage, baby. All right, Mr. Carter. Do you or are you married, single, or divorced?
I'm single as far as official status, but I am dating a lovely woman, and she's a very important person in my life.
Hey, we always got to ask it. You know what I mean? The people like to know a little bit behind the scenes of our favorite analysts. You know what I mean? So I got to ask it. Okay. Question number 3 there, Mr. Christopher Carter. I want to know who leads the Pittsburgh Steelers in tackles this year.
I'm going to go with the sort of out of the box pick. I'm going to take Terrell Edmonds.
Woo! I wanted to bring him up earlier. I heard he was a standout in camp.
He's been looking really sharp in camp, and he was really good last year. It's just that they had so many holes in the defense last year, especially inside linebacker, that it was tough for him to get many targets in favorable situations that he could make a play on the ball. This year, now that there's no Cody Sensabaugh out there, not Steven Nelson, there's no John Bostic. Now it's either Devin Bush or Mark Barron.
Right.
There's going to be a lot more chances for Edmonds to make a play on the ball. And that's something I wrote about on DKPittsburghSports.com this past week. So, check out for Edmonds. But not only do I think, because he comes up and plays the run a lot as a strong safety, and he's extremely athletic. He's explosive. He goes here to there. But he's also going to be making plays in the passing game. I can see him leading the team in tackles, especially considering I do think they'll have a healthy rotation of Bush, Barron, and Williams at the inside linebacker position. So none of them will be like playing every single down.
So has he kind of grabbed your eye this year? Like when they picked him last year, it was in the first round, wasn't it, Mr. Carter? What did that kind of perk your eyebrows? Was you kind of like, what the, or was you one of the ones that knew a little bit more about Edmonds and kind of seen the point of the pick, and now you see him developing? Or was you, or have you came complete circle, on Edmonds? What?
When they drafted Edmonds, it made sense. I mean, everyone was looking at his brother Tremaine, but Terrell Edmonds had a lot of talent. He has the size, he has the quickness, he has the measurables to be a good safety. But a lot of people weren't excited about the pick because he didn't have the highlight plays, he didn't have the stats of a superstar safety, and and his combine grade wasn't out of the world like Troy Polamalu. So people were like, oh, why did they get this guy? But I've been impressed with him since day one. And all that I've seen this second camp is just furthering of the progress that he's shown. I really think that for the next, I'd say 5 or 6 years, the Steelers are in a very good place having him and Bush growing next to each other and growing into their primes. I think that they can be great leaders for this defense. And if they can both stick on the team, this could become a fearsome unit down the middle. Ryan Clark was talking on Get Up actually earlier today about the importance of having people down the middle. And he said, for the Steelers of the late 2000s, he said when they were great, it was Casey Hampton at nose, James Ferry at inside linebacker, and Troy Polamalu at strong safety. When you put those 2 guys in the middle, you had success. Now you have a situation where it's Edmonds, Bush, and maybe that's Cam Hayward, maybe that's Javon Hargrave. But that defensive line rotates a lot to see who's on 0 technique, 1 technique, 3 technique, and but I think that Edmonds fits that role, and he's going to look well. I do think that's why he gets the tackle.
Okay, so I'm going to piggyback off of that question just a little bit right here back into the rankings discussion. Everybody loves to pick this guy or that guy. I'm going to give you 2 guys here, and you tell me which one you'd rather have. Tyrann Mathieu just went to KC, and he's playing that safety role there. You've got 2 guys staring at you. You got Mathieu, you got Honey Badger right there, you got Edmonds. Which one you taking there?
I'm taking Edmonds because of what he does with his size, with how young he is, and Honey Badger. Mathieu, he's a great athlete. You like him at the free safety position, but what Edmonds can do, people really underestimated what he was doing to the tight end position last year.
They do. They don't see the numbers, Carter. They don't see the numbers at the end of the year. They don't see those point totals, that fantasy overall scoring. They don't see that. I'm completely on board with you here. Go ahead, buddy.
And some of it won't show up necessarily in points because Terrell Edmonds only had 4 passes defense and an interception last year. But when he was running with tight ends, he was really been the first safety that the Steelers could consistently rely on to take away a tight end in a very long time. They tried it with Sean Davis. He could do it against Darren Fells. He could do it occasionally against Rob Gronkowski. But when Gronkowski and Kelsey, when they would get too big on it, it sometimes be too much for Davis. That's why they put him back at free safety, and they brought Edmonds up. Edmonds, when he played against Rob Gronkowski, it was a different story. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he knows how to play it, and I think that's one of the bigger reasons that I would take him over Matthew for the Steelers situation right now is because he's going to be a guy that challenges tight ends and takes away guys all across the field, whereas Matthew's undersized, and that's not that can be a liability in certain situations.
Love it, buddy. Love it. Man, you've been gold this podcast, Chris. You on fire, baby. You on fire. All right. Hey, we got a few more questions here on Under Pressure. All right. You've got $10, Christopher Carter. You head into the grocery store. You got 1 meal to make, homie. What are you buying with that $10 in that Whole Foods or that grocery store? What you buying? What you making, man? I got to know what you making for dinner with that $10. $10.
You ain't getting nothing in Whole Foods for $10.
Okay. Hey, we ain't got none around here. The only time I see a stop sign, only time I see a red light is when the sun reflects off of a stop sign.
I do a lot of my grocery shopping at Giant Eagle, the local grocery store here, or Target. If I was to have $10 and I could find the right deals, if I needed one meal, I'm getting me a box of spaghetti noodles, I'm getting me some Prego, I'm getting me and like a half pound of beef.
Oh, we go spaghetti and meatballs, baby.
Right, I'll make my own meatballs.
Yes, sir.
If I got some change left over from that, I'll grab some sweet peppers to add to the sauce.
Oh yeah.
I'll grab some seasoning from the seasoning racks, and I'll throw it all together, make me a mean plate of spaghetti.
Woo! Okay, well that's been our show for tonight. I'm gonna have to get off here and make me something to eat. Hey, little fun fact. What we do here, man. I got so many kids and stuff running around. We get a bag of the boneless chicken breast, and we shred our chicken, and we make our own chicken meatballs, homie, with the spaghetti. Oh, it's on point. But hey, all right, here we go. We got, hey, this is the last question. This is the most important. Okay, we got two more. Who leads the Pittsburgh Steelers in sacks? As we both know, what is it? 3 years in a row, the Steelers team has led the NFL in sacks. Is it 3 years in a row?
I think it's 2 years.
2 years. 2 years in a row. Third year, that first year I think they were top 5, but I could be okay. There we go. So who leads the team this year in those sack heavy leagues, Mr. Carter? Who leads the team in sack? Is it TJ Watt? I heard he had it. I heard he was at practice again, and I heard that he had Big Ben scrambling all over outside that pocket.
TJ Watt is my guy. I have him being team MVP at the end of the season. Not league MVP, but team MVP, because I think he's going to explode this year. He's going to get some really good sack numbers. I think.
Let's hear that number, Carter. Let's hear what you think. What's that overall sack number? Come on, give it to us, Carter.
I'm saying 14.
14. Okay. All right.
But also with those 14, he's going to force a few more fumbles this season. And a lot of people forget there were so many fumbles the Steelers forced last year that they just couldn't recover because the other team fell right back on it or the ball bounced the wrong way. Eventually, karma kind of works back to you in that regard. Just how I've seen football work over the years. When you're recovering a lot of fumbles, eventually that's going to stop and the other team's going to start recovering it, and vice versa. When you're not recovering fumbles, eventually it's going to start coming back to you. That's more of a luck thing. And I think that those type of plays are going to happen more often for TJ Watt, and he's going to be a superstar for the team.
And that's something that we'd only know by having one of the best Pittsburgh Steelers beat writers, whatever, analysts, whatever you want to call it, on the show. That's something that we'd only know by having Mr. Christopher Carter on the show. Is a lot of breaks didn't go their way. That's why I wanted to put this little video series together, have some of the best names in the business that are watching the camp battles, watching this day to day, and that are fully engulfed into that team. That's why I wanted to put this together, a little IDP FF Fantasy Football Summer Camp. Pittsburgh Steelers episode 1. It's right now. Christopher Carter tells us that TJ Watt, that's his defensive MVP for this team. And that's saying a lot, in my opinion, because everybody that listens to this knows how high I am on Devin Bush. I think there is a clear-cut Devin, and I think his name is Bush. As the show I listened to today on Locked On Steelers with Mr. Tony himself, riding solo. Mr. Carter couldn't make it today, but I still listen. I listen to it every week. As was said, Devin Bush is just a hair away from making just obscene amount of plays in practice on the 7-7s, on the 11-11s. He's just right there at every play. And I think it's a big year coming for this kid. One last question before I let you go here. Do you think Devin Bush gets the full reins week one, Mr. Christopher Carter? Or do you think he gets subbed in and out with Vince and Mark Barron? Or do you think this is Devin Bush's mic spot from day one?
I think that week one, they're going to have a healthy rotation between the three to try and keep the defense fresh. They want to keep legs fresh. They're not trying to get any guy tired throughout the season, even with Devin Bush being in the young legs. But I do think that by midseason, by the end of the season, you're going to see Devin Bush really thriving and really working hard and getting a lot more of those opportunities because he'll just kind of, I think once he eases into the role, that's when you'll see that develop. But right now, it's all about can Pete Butler find different ways to confuse quarterbacks, provide different looks. And when you got three linebackers that look like they can deliver in different ways, you try to mix it up as much as you can to confuse people, keep them off guard, and make quarterbacks have to guess a lot more what you're doing. That's why I think the healthy rotation is coming, at least to start the season.
Love it, buddy. Love it. And I actually fibbed to you just a little bit because I got to ask my DB question. I'm kind of a cornerback, savant. But, okay, there's one guy that quarterbacks look to avoid normally when facing defenses. Who is that guy that quarterbacks will look to avoid for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And maybe who is that cornerback that quarterbacks might look to pick on the most, which would be more relevant for us in fantasy football? So who is your cornerback that quarterbacks will shy away from, and who do you think they will target there, Mr. Carter?
I mean, it's got to be Joe Hayden that everyone's going to fear. He's the best cornerback on the team. You can say the best defensive back on the team. He's still a threat. He's still very dangerous out there. He finds the ball. He challenges. He makes your tight window or your passing windows much tighter. I think that's what's going to scare people away from him. And last year, people often did just throw away from him because you wanted to test Cody Sensabaugh. Now, out there with Steven Nelson, I don't think Nelson's going to get tested. I think he'll get tested more than Hayden. But I think that there's going to be a lot of people trying to take advantage of Mike Hilton's size in the slot cornerback position, which would be a mistake because Mike Hilton is a bad dude.
Like Mike Hilton.
Yeah, he's a tough guy. I'll tell you, man. 2 years ago when he first got to camp, and he was trying to prove himself. Every time he made a play, he was screaming, "I'm too small! I'm too small!" Basically making fun of everything that was out of him. That's the kind of spirit that Mike Hilton has. Now, he had a rough second half to the 2018 season, so everyone's looking to see if he can rebound. I think he can. He has the heart. He has the talent. He just kind of has to be in the right situation. But I will say this also. Cam Sutton is pushing him right now. Cam Sutton has had a very good camp. I've liked Cam Sutton before he was drafted. When he played at Tennessee, he could play every position in the secondary. And right now, he's looking like a guy that could be pushing Mike Hilton out the door next year instead of the Steelers signing him back with the team. But Hilton, if I was picking any of the starters, Hilton would be my guy. I think that quarterbacks might say, hey, let me try him because I can at least throw up a jump ball in his area and he won't be as good as beating a 6'3" wide receiver for that. But still, I think the Steelers are in a much better situation with their secondary this year.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be smitten whenever they do that to Hilton because just like you said, that guy's looking for a contract, and he's looking to show people that he can play on the outside as well as in the middle. So you throw it at that guy on a contract year. Cornerbacks on a contract year is always a void for me in IDP fantasy football because these guys are showing out from day one. I mean, they have something to prove because cornerbacks don't get paid, besides, the top tier guys. They don't get paid. And I think he's deserving of it. You throw his way this year, it could be problems.
I agree. I think that's a good sentiment. I'm not sure if he's going to be the star slot corner.
Right.
He's going to be the competitive one that challenges you and makes life harder. He's also a good hitter. If you people underestimate how quick he is in open space. There was one time the Ravens, before Lamar Jackson was a starter for them, they ran the option run with him, and a lot of the Steelers defense bit on the halfback part of it. Mike Hilton just flew up, took away the sideline, and made a great tackle on Lamar Jackson in space. That's the kind of stuff that they really value out of him, and I think it's going to go a long way to their success.
Okay, my walk-off question here. Does McCullers find another damn way to find himself on this roster? Is McCullers going? Is he going to find his way on this roster again this year, Carter?
Dan McCullers is going to be there.
He's going to be there, ain't he?
Well, yeah. I mean, part of it is because they're comfortable with being cheap at that position.
You're right.
If you went out and you try to get a free agent defensive tackle right now, someone that's not in camp, or waited till cuts happen and they grab someone else's, guy, you're taking a risk that they're not going to be, that they could be just as bad, because you're paying more money to get somebody else. That's more cap spending space that you're wasting on the position. And really, he's the fifth interior lineman that you're going to be calling in on a lot of those packages, because they're going to put Hayward there, Tuitt there, Hargrave there. They'll even put a Lulu there, and Tyson Lulu's a decent backup. So he's really the fifth option. When you consider that, you're kind of like, you know what? I'm okay paying him, the minimum,
right,
just to stick around and be a huge body, and that's what he still has on the side. Big Dan McCullers. They used to call him the shade tree, and because he's just so doggone huge at defensive tackle. He still has to be a lot tougher at the line, but he can make a living like that. And right now, I think that's what they're happy to be with. Isaiah Buggs is having a good camp. I think he will be the sixth defensive lineman on the roster.
Okay.
But I don't think he'll be able to beat out McCullers. And I do think that McCullers, just with his size and his familiarity with the team and the scheme, they're definitely gonna keep him unless they invest back into the position next year. But for right now, McCullers is going to be on the team.
There it is, folks. And I fibbed to him one more time. Who's the backup to Sean Davis? Is it Dangerfield? Oh, is it? Crap. I like Dangerfield. Man, I like Dangerfield.
Dangerfield's a smart guy. I've been here. This is my fourth season covering the Steelers. And since I've been here, ever since I've seen Dangerfield, I have seen Tomlin bark at Dangerfield to make sure that he's communicating, make sure that he's keeping the secondary together. And that's what Dangerfield does very well. He's very good at keeping everyone on the same page. Even the backups, he's good at helping people learn their roles.
Field general.
Right. But Cameron Kelly, the guy they brought out to AAF,
has
really stepped up, and he's become the immediate replacement for Sean Davis.
Cool.
He's 6'3", so he's huge. He can win the jump balls. He can play slot cornerback if need be. He can line up all over the field, and he seems to find the ball pretty well. Cameron Kelly, watch out for that guy. I see him as the immediate replacement at free safety this season.
Over under, how many games Sean Davis missed at 5.5? Under. Okay. That's what we needed to know right there. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the first ever episode of IDP Summer Camp, presented by Reader Digest Network YouTube. Mr. Christopher Carter, the floor is yours. You can take 45 minutes and plug anything you need to, my homie. The floor is yours, buddy. Please let everybody know the prices to get that DK PittsburghSports.com membership. Please let everybody know where they can find your amazing work and become a fan just like I have been.
Well, thank you, sir. For those who don't know, you can find me on Twitter at Carter Critiques. That's CARTER Critiques. On Twitter, I'm always down to answer DMs, talk with fans, about football, life, anything. Just hit me with the hit me with the DM. If you follow me, I will follow you back. I'm the lead NFL analyst for DKPittsburghSports.com, where I'm breaking down the X's and O's regularly with my Carter's Classroom column, where I'm breaking down film, giving you the advantages and disadvantages week to week with the Steelers and their opponents. And there you can subscribe to DKPittsburghSports.com for just 99 cents for a trial month. If you like it, stick with us. If not, we thank you for checking us out. But I know that you'll love DK Pittsburgh Sports. If you're a Pittsburgh sports guy, you're gonna get insider news on the Steelers. We got Dale Lawley, who's been covering the Steelers for 27 years. He's the front offices. He's breaking it down. We got a whole hockey army that goes into the Penguins locker room. We cover the Pirates. We do it just the same way. We got an analysis on every team and insider on every team, and you can check that all out at dkpittsburghsports.com. And for those fantasy football heads, check out. I'm going to be hosting a fantasy football insider show on WPXI.com.
Oh,
that's the local NBC station here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And
nice. Congrats, Carter.
Thank you, sir. It'll be a great show. We'll be starting in late August, right around draft time. We're still working on the exact date. But WPXI.com, keep an eye out for those videos. I'll be breaking down week to week with FanDuel on how things are shaping out.
Hey, buddy. Thanks a ton for jumping on with me and being my first ever guest on this video series. It means the world to me. And one little quick thing I want to let everybody know, you don't even have to be a Pittsburgh fan to join this membership at DK Pittsburgh Sports. I just joined it, and I'm the biggest San Francisco 49ers homer there is, but I love knowing the best insights to the teams that I want to know about. If I want to know something about Devin Bush, if I want to know something about the Pittsburgh Steelers, all I have to do is go to my bookmark, click on DKPittsburghSports.com, click on that, and scroll through my membership feed and find out anything I need to know. Boom, it's there. So
if you have a smartphone, you have an app. You can pull it up right on your phone, scroll through all our articles, watch our videos. We partner with WPXI. We're always on TV every Sunday in the local NBC station. You can watch all of that, listen to all our podcasts right on the app on your phone. Just look up DK Pittsburgh Sports and Sports on anywhere that you get apps, and you can put it right on your phone.
Boom, folks. For Oklahoma Doug, my good friend, very, very good friend, and the best Pittsburgh Steelers analyst I know, Mr. Christopher Carter. This has been episode 1 of IDP Fantasy Football Summer Camp. Peace. There it is, buddy.